I provide access to authentic documents from closed archives. There is no artistic fiction here. If you're watching this, it means the material has already breached the system. We assume no responsibility for what you learn. Subscribe. Knowledge is irreversible. I was sure that fate was smiling on me. I didn't have to reach for the stars or anything, but life was turning out pretty well overall. By the age of 24, I had a quite good job. I worked as a tennis instructor. Since childhood, I had adored this sport, and now I could do it all the time and even get paid for it. Not everyone is lucky enough in life to do what they love and earn money doing it, so I really valued this place. True, the money they paid was quite modest. With such a salary, I would never have seen my own housing, but here too, I got lucky. My cousin's grandmother, who had no other relatives except our family, left me an apartment in her will, just like that, out of nowhere. Although I had suspicions that the relatives had asked her to do this, her only son became an alcoholic and died without even reaching the apartment. He fell down the stairs in a drunken haze and broke his neck. After that, my mom and grandma helped Grandma Natasha. I rarely saw her and didn't participate in any of it, so I was surprised when I found out that the apartment had been transferred to me. I moved into that old building on Chekhov Street, peeling wallpaper, an old creaky bed. I replaced it with a new one with an orthopedic mattress. Gradually I settled in, arranged a bachelor's life as best I could with my finances, did repairs, and bought furniture little by little. Then I started paying attention to the people around and learned that in the neighboring entrance lived one interesting girl. She was pretty, even very pretty, or maybe she was just my type. I immediately liked her dark chestnut hair, expressive eyes, and constantly slightly parted lips. She dressed unremarkably, wore oversized t-shirts, light jeans, and white sneakers. This girl seemed quiet and shy, but there was something cozy about her, and I liked that. I immediately wanted her to notice me too. I unconsciously showed off in front of her. I walked past, throwing a tennis racket over my shoulder, put on a serious look, fiddled with my hair with my fingers, and finally I got a chance to show gallantry. She was coming home with a large box from the delivery point, and I ran up and helped her with the door. "Thank you," she said, looking me in the eyes. Now I had a reason to greet her. It seemed that the girl herself was interested in getting to know me, but I didn't want to seem pushy and scare her away with persistence. I thought, let everything develop by itself. One day I was returning from work and met her in the courtyard. "Hi," I said, smiling. "Hi," she replied and asked, "You have a racket in the case?" Although it was pretty obvious. "No, it's a weapon," I answered, making a serious face. "Actually, I'm a hired killer." "Yeah, and the best way to lie is to tell the truth," the girl smirked, and her eyes sparkled. That's how we started talking. It turned out her name was Christina. She was a year and a half younger than me and was studying in the senior year of law school in our city. The girl rented an apartment and lived alone, just like me. And we had a lot in common in many ways. We liked the same series, food, and other little things. She had always been interested in tennis, but never had a reason to try it. After these words, I didn't even have to come up with anything. I invited her to play. Of course, she played badly. She constantly dropped the racket, missed the ball, and didn't notice it because of poor eyesight. But it was noticeable that she was having fun. The girl was sweating, but didn't give up trying to develop her skills. "If everyone had your persistence, I would be left without a job," I said, trying to cheer her up. "Don't suck up," she exclaimed, hitting the ball somewhere to the side. "I know that I'm too clumsy for tennis. I myself was once too clumsy. But if you do what you love every day, you simply can't help but learn it." After a couple of hours on the tennis court, our relationship began to develop rapidly. We spent every evening together, walking, watching movies. Christina visited me, and I visited her. And once, for variety, I suggested going to the cinema. I myself hadn't been there for a long time, but I remembered that I used to like it. We met near the house as agreed. Christina took me by the arm and we went, planning to walk to the shopping center. But suddenly the girl stopped sharply and pulled me in the other direction, although it wasn't the shortest way to the main street. "What's up?" I asked in surprise. "Let's just go a different way. We're not in a hurry anyway," Christina answered, gripping my arm even tighter. "They say you need to change familiar routes from time to time." I silently agreed and followed her, but when I looked back, I understood what had made her turn off the path.
In the direction we were originally heading stood some strange man. From a distance, his facial features seemed creepy and grotesque. He was completely bald and shone like a wax figure. His eyes were huge, bulging and round, exactly like a fly's, and his mouth was so big that it rather resembled an animal's maw, as if his cheeks had been torn from ear to ear. While we were walking, Christina talked about anything, about the weather, that she hadn't eaten popcorn in a long time, and remembered how she once caught a cold in a movie theater because of the air conditioning. It seemed to me that she was trying to distract me to avoid an unpleasant topic. But I still asked, "And what was that man standing there? Do you know him?" "Who are you talking about?" the girl asked quietly with a look of complete misunderstanding. "We were walking and there was some guy on the road and you pulled me aside," I reminded her. There was no guy there. Her words sounded like nonsense because I clearly remembered seeing someone. "Are you kidding? You're wearing glasses, so you definitely should have noticed that strange, creepy passerby. Bald and scary." "I got scared. I didn't want to run into trouble, so we left." "Don't be nervous," Christina answered. I kept asking, "Who is he? Why is he so scary?" "Where do I know? Just some guy. Maybe a thug or a bum. Why are you bugging me about this man?" Christina dropped my hand. Okay, sorry. I didn't want to argue," I said. I didn't even understand myself why I was so worked up over a random scary guy on the street. "Let's make peace," I said, and held out my little finger with a smile. I wanted to smooth over this unpleasant moment so the rest of the evening would go well. She also held out her finger. We continued on to the shopping center in awkward silence, which we tried to smooth over with rare, meaningless conversations. The film turned out to be rather boring, and the time spent in the cinema itself seemed somehow off to me. The colors on the screen were faded, the sound was bad, the seat was uncomfortable, and someone in the hall kept coughing. I concluded that watching movies at home was much more comfortable. Christina agreed with me, and on the way back, we talked about how streaming services would sooner or later kill the culture of collective viewing of films on the big screen. Love for cinema built a little bridge over the gap that had briefly distanced us. I even forgot about that incident at the beginning of the evening. But Christina's behavior made me remember it again. "I have to get up early for classes tomorrow, so I plan to go straight to sleep," Christina said when we approached the house. "No problem," I answered, and walked her to the entrance. Something had changed in her. She was tense, nervous, and thoughtful. She didn't even kiss me, just hugged me and wished me good night. Something was bothering her. I went to my entrance and again saw that person, but now up close. He was standing at the corner of our building, illuminated by a lantern. My eyesight hadn't failed me. He really was ugly. Shiny wax skin without a single hair, bulging eyes without pupils, and a wide, toothless maw. I looked closer. Maybe he was wearing a scary mask on his head, but the feeling came that this was his real face. And suddenly this person opened his mouth wider, and from it poured a red, viscous slime, as if he was vomiting blood. The liquid flowed in streams down his chin, down his neck, soaking his dirty shirt that was torn in several places. "What the?" I coughed from nausea and went into the entrance so as not to see this abomination. The sight of this person left an imprint, and the whole remaining evening I was overcome with nausea. I kept thinking about what I had seen and couldn't help but share these experiences with my girlfriend. "Christina, I just met that strange guy again. He was standing there vomiting blood. I'm serious. Just be careful, okay?" I sent her a voice message. The girl listened to it but didn't reply. Strange.
She still reacted to this somehow. I had a bad feeling, and it didn't deceive me. That night, a murder happened in our building. I myself didn't see it, but rumors spread instantly. Neighbors said that a man from apartment 36 had died. He was found with a punctured eye and a pool of blood. Apparently, he was hit in the face with something sharp. Someone from the witnesses overheard the police conversation. They said the wound went all the way to the brain, and death was most likely instantaneous. Suspicion fell on the deceased's acquaintances. He was a lonely man who liked to drink with guests. The police believed that the reason was an ordinary drunken quarrel with stabbing. But I believe that everything was not so simple.
It was too obvious a coincidence. First, that scary person appeared, then this terrible death of one of the neighbors. It could be connected. In the evening, when we met with Christina in my apartment, I didn't want to stay silent about it and shared my suspicions. She listened to me silently and then said, "Alex, let's not talk about this." "Why?" "You know something," I guessed, and moved closer to her face. "I know, but I can't talk about it," she answered tensely, looking into my eyes. "Tell me at least something," I asked. "Yes, you're right. This person killed our neighbor. More precisely, he is not a person. I don't know who he is. They call him Bloody Face. He kills people, but you can't talk about it. You understand? You can't. You have to act like he doesn't exist. And if you keep talking about him, there will be more victims." A tear fell from the girl's eyelashes and rolled toward her lips. Okay, quiet, I understood you."
"I won't say or ask anything more," I muttered to myself. Bloody Face. You can't expect anything good from a guy with a name like that. "You know, I've only lived here recently, and I'm not up to date on local legends," I added. The girl wiped away her tears and said, "I know how crazy it sounds, but it's better to just trust me and stay silent. He appears once every few years and people die, and then he disappears again. This time we just need to wait it out. If you see him somewhere, don't notice him. Don't tell anyone, okay?" I nodded. I promised that I wouldn't touch this topic anymore. If I suddenly meet him, I won't even look in his direction. Actually, I wasn't eager to get to the truth. What was happening seemed absurd to me. But it's not for nothing that people believe in such things. There are many scary legends, and I'm not one of those who wants to test their truthfulness. One warning is enough for me to stay away from it. After that, my relationship with Christina became somehow cold and superficial. She began to avoid me, and I decided to give her time and not impose myself. I took on more working hours, trained young athletes and ordinary amateurs, and spent evenings alone with some movie or book. No one talked about the murdered neighbor anymore. It was as if everyone had forgotten about him right after the funeral. But that often happens among people who live their years aimlessly. He lived his life, drank with someone, did odd jobs somewhere, then died. They put him in a coffin, had a drink on the 9th day, and went on living their daily lives. And not everyone even remembers his real name. For many, he remained just Sasha the Cross-Eyed, or whatever. Bloody Face had already disappeared. But one day, going out into the courtyard in the morning, I stepped with my boot into something viscous and sticky. "What the hell? I just washed them," I cursed loudly. It looked like phlegm mixed with blood. There was a whole puddle of red slime on the porch. So he was here again, vomiting, meaning he was still walking around somewhere nearby. What did he want here? I went down from the porch, wiped my boot on the grass, and headed toward the bus stop. Passing by the garage cooperative, I suddenly felt a heavy gaze on myself. It seemed to dig into the back of my head, immediately making me stop and look back. It was him. The creepy man stood on one of the garages. His bald head shone as if polished. His eyes bulged out of their sockets, his toothless maw opened to the limit, and red slime dripped from his chin. That same day, Christina called me and suggested we meet. Her call was unexpected. She came as if for a check, as if she wanted to know how firm I was in my promises. "What's new with you?" she asked. "Nothing new. Work, home, work, home. I missed you.
I said, trying to hide my worry.
We spent the evening watching a humorous show where comedians answered everyday questions from their viewers, and it seemed funny, but I couldn't just throw that disgusting face out of my head. His image was stuck in my brain and spun in obsessive frames. I looked at the laptop monitor, but only the vile face of that freak appeared before my eyes. Christina still liked me, but the development of our relationship had stalled. Everything became somehow awkward, strange, and unstable. I understood that perhaps the appearance of the strange creature was to blame, and was ready to wait until it all ended. The girl refused to stay the night at my place, and then I, without asking permission, went to walk her home. I wanted to see that she at least got home safely. "Good night." Christina hastily hugged me and went to her place, and I went to mine, looking around to see if he was somewhere nearby.
The lanterns were on, the yard was empty, only someone's cat was sitting on a bench and attentively watching me. Well, that's good, I thought, entering the entrance. I went up to my floor. The sounds of my own footsteps were heard unnaturally loud in the night silence. It seemed to me that someone was watching me. This feeling was unbearable. Someone's hard gaze seemed to pierce me through and drill into the back of my head. Fear smoldered inside me and hatred burned. I wanted to simply enter the apartment without raising my eyes to the stairs above, but I couldn't resist. He was standing there. As soon as I looked at him, he again opened his disgusting maw, and from there, an endless stream of scarlet slime poured out. It gushed like from a bucket, splashing down the steps and spreading in a puddle on the floor at my feet. I managed to suppress the fear and disgust, opened the door, and went into the apartment. All my shoes and the edges of my jeans were covered in scarlet splashes. I silently cursed him but said nothing to anyone. But it didn't help. That night in my entrance, they killed the neighbor woman. It was a kind, lonely woman, plump, rosy-cheeked and smiling. She always greeted everyone who passed by and never quarreled with anyone. The circumstances of the death were strange. The door to her apartment was open, and she lay at the threshold with her heart pierced. It looked like the woman had opened the door to someone, and they stabbed something sharp into her chest. A light rain was falling. I put on a light hoodie, pulled up the hood, went out of the entrance and stood under the canopy. I stood on the street with the other neighbors and watched as the car drove away. Later that night, Christina came to me. She told me the full truth. Bloody Face only appears to those he has chosen. He had chosen me. He would calm down after 3 victims. Christina had been helping him all this time out of fear for her own life.
When the creature appeared in my apartment, she said coldly, "Better you than me," and tried to sacrifice me. But in the last moment, the monster turned on her instead. He stabbed her in the neck right in front of me. As she was dying in my arms, the creature showed me 3 fingers. Now I had to continue his work. The story ends with me, broken and covered in blood, realizing that the curse had passed to me and the nightmare would never end.